Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Is Armada possibly getting a second edition similar to how X-Wing got a second edition? We're going to be talking about that question today because these latest spoilers we got for Armada Clone Wars have raised a couple of alarms or red flags. So we're going to be talking about all of that. Also, a reminder, there is a new round of the giveaway that's going on right now for a $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment. It's simple as that. So let's go ahead and talk about Armada with the possibility of a second edition. Okay, first off, I'm not saying that I think that they are. I'm just exploring the possibility and why some people are kind of wondering about that. First off, I get asked all the time. And one of the biggest reasons is, well, X-Wing got one, so hey, maybe Armada is going to also. Armada's been around for a long, long time. Well, I don't know if the game really needs a 2.0 because I think the game is at a good, for the most part, very well balanced state. You don't have certain things that are completely like running wild. So I'm not saying the game really needs a second edition, but I think there's a couple of things in these new previews that are going to, that just kind of ask some questions on, are they either maybe changing some things about the game or maybe giving us some signs that kind of hint a little bit towards 2.0 or some new things. So for the most part, like I've already talked about these cards in general and kind of done a breakdown of them. We've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, we've got Kraken as different commanders. You can see the faction symbols. You've got that Separatist faction, you've got that Republic faction symbol under there. You've got Wat Tambor as an officer. I mean, most things look pretty much the same. So at first glance, you're thinking, well, no, these cards don't look like fundamentally different, like in X-Wing Second Edition, like they looked. The Clone Gunners, for example, you see the Republic's faction symbol over there. And for the most part, they don't look all that different. One thing that strikes me as being a little bit strange, though, with the Clone Gunners card, we see where at the top it says Clone Only. Now, that one is interesting enough because this one implies there's some kind of new type of rule that maybe, some type of major rule change, or I don't know if it's worthy of a full 2.0, but maybe a 1.5 or something like that, because Clone Only doesn't really usually mean anything. Like, it's not like there's going to be a ship called Clone. And it's already got the faction symbol right next to the point cost. So it's already restricted to Republic. So why would it need to say Clone Only? Unless there's some kind of new rule that says certain ships are manned only by clones and certain ships are manned only by maybe Jedi or non-clone people like Yularen, for example. So it really, asks this question, what do they mean by clone only? What could that mean? Because in the current rules, that doesn't mean anything. So it does seem that at least we are in for some type of rules change or rules update with Clone Wars Armada, because clone only doesn't even make any sense in this case when there's already a faction restriction printed on the card. So you're really not required. If it was Republic only or something like that, then certainly it would make sense. But what does clone only even mean here? Now, that doesn't necessarily, on its own, that doesn't mean that we're getting a 2.0. That certainly does, lend itself to the idea that we are getting a rules update. But the biggest thing is that people have looked at these cards and said, something looks off about these cards. And I mentioned it in my first preview, is that they look like the size of some of the icons is a little off. And it made people wonder, well, are these full-size cards? Are they doing what X-Wing did when they went to a second edition and printing the upgrades as full-size cards? And if they are, that's certainly one step or one maybe supporting piece of evidence suggesting, well, hey, maybe they are actually doing a second edition. Maybe. So, what do we mean by like they look like they're full-size cards? Because it's a preview, it's small. Well, compare this to, I'm going to use Gunnery Team since that's another weapons team slot. Now, obviously, the images could be scaled a little bit differently, and some people have suggested that, well, maybe if we go back to Clone Gunners, maybe this was a mock-up, and maybe this isn't the final artwork. Agreed, that's entirely possible. But I'm going to get to my evidence. If this is not a mock-up, and since they were ready to show it, this kind of leads me to believe that this is final production proof. because usually they don't show you something until it's. I mean, this wasn't a leak. This was given out by FFG. So I kind of believe that this is the final version. So if we compare the icon, the weapons team icon on gunnery team, and see how it looks so much larger there. We know that this is one of the small cards. And then we compare it to the clone gunners. It obviously looks like the symbol is much smaller here, which means this, if you were to size them up, it'd be a much larger card. So what I've done is I've kind of transposed them over each other. And so you can kind of see the difference, kind of lining up the symbols to sort of make them look about the same. And what I would do at this point is just kind of move them down so to where they're kind of on top of each other right there. So this, and this is me trying to line them up as good as I can and aligning that exact symbol. Of course, this does kind of assume that the symbology is going to be the same size and only the card has changed. And also, you look like the numbers and that symbol seem to kind of line up and link up and everything. So my guess is that this is approximately the card size that we're going to be getting for new upgrade cards. So probably full size cards, same size as your squadrons, same size as your objective cards, and basically doing the same thing that X-Wing did when they went to 2.0. That's going to be a lot easier for people to sort and store all of their cards. It makes me also wonder, what are they going to do for ship cards? Because there are ship cards out there made to be this same size. There are some promos. And we'll probably have some promos coming out, where some more giveaways that I'll be doing, promo giveaways in the not too distant future. But I was actually able to, some of these promos came in my hands that where they basically just cut off the extra artwork and then you've got everything there. Now, you can probably scale the ship cards down too, but it kind of begs the question, what are they going to do? For card sizes for non-upgrade and commanders style cards, because if they are going from mini cards up to full-size cards, is that basically another sign that they're following in the footsteps of X-Wing 2.0? What else are we going to get? So that's really the crux of the video, is the cards are a different size. Here's my best approximation on just, as evidence to that, why I don't think that it was just an image mock-up. I think this is about the size that it should be. You can see, comparing the two, there's a gunnery team, there's clone gunners, and, and you could do this with any of them across the board, but it's easier to do with a card that has a printed icon that's already familiar. The commanders, for example, don't have, the commander icon there. And of course, you do have the officer. I suppose I could probably do the same thing with Wat Tambor, but there's really not much of a reason to at this time. So I guess there's two options at this point, or maybe three options. So we'll talk about two extremes. The one option is quite simply, no, there's no 2.0 coming. It's just quite simply they changed the cards. Or this is just a mock-up, and this may not be the final decision, but I think it is, because I don't think they would have given us the artwork if it wasn't final. And so maybe they're just changing the sides of the cards, and there's nothing more to it than that. As far as the rules change for something like clone gunners being clone only, while it doesn't seem but yet they also have the Republic faction symbol. I don't know. Maybe there's going to be sub-factions. Maybe there will be sub-factions within these factions, and maybe that's just going to be an extra rule change. Or maybe I don't know. I don't know what else could be. But basically, the one option is that there's no change at all, and it's just a card size change, and don't look any further to it than that. Another extreme is that it is a Armada 2.0, but while not being quite as extreme as X-Wing, maybe they're leaving some of the card styles the same, and it's still recognizable. I noticed that we still have point costs on all the other cards, which is not like what X-Wing did, and that's certainly a good thing. Legion has done that, and they've simply adopted the fact that, yes, we can make point chains in erratas if we need to, without having to go with an entire website to do everything digitally, because turns out that was a real big pain in the butt for FFG. They do not like having to maintain the X-Wing website, especially the way that they've done it, especially when the fans are already doing that for them for free anyway. So, like Fantasy Flight, they kind of painted themselves into a corner with X-Wing right now, and so they have to maintain the site because they've advertised the squad builder, but the community's doing it. And honestly, the community is doing a better job of the squad builder than FFG is. FFG, has notoriously had stuff lagging behind or not been, or been more buggy or not had epic support or whatever. Whereas the community-based squad builders are perfect. So since we've got community-based squad builders for Armada, there's really no reason for them to go with an official thing. So I do expect point costs and everything to remain, and that's certainly a good thing. Even if they were to go with a 2.0, the point costs, is a good idea to still leave them on there. So the third option is that it's not, neither of the other two. They're not going with a 2.0, but it's also a little more complex than simply being a resize, and that it's perhaps more of a 1.5, like a lot of rules updates at the same time, but not fully a 2.0. I don't even know if 1.5 is an accurate term, but basically, if they were looking to do any type of big revamp, then I would imagine that this would be a good way to do it. Now, the other thing is, this would also be a great time for card packs to come out, because there are a lot of cards we really need. And if they're going to be resizing the cards, are we going to be expected to get resized versions of all of the cards? And how else to do that than give us a card pack of all the upgrades that were only available in one ship? I would love to have things like Spinal Armament, External Racks, and all these other things that you can maybe only get in one place. Turbo Laser reroute circuits, all that kind of stuff. People probably are crying out for those, especially for certain ships that are kind of out of print right now. People just getting into the game can't get stuff. So card packs would be absolutely fantastic. A huge, huge thing to have. Would love to see that. And if they're going to be reprinting cards, then that's a good justification to do it. Like, hey, if you want all your cards to be the same size so you can more easily fit them into binders, then a card pack should be the way to go. I would imagine usually a card pack could, doesn't have to be with a 2.0. We've seen card packs with Legion. We've seen kind of card packs with X-Wing. So it makes perfect sense that they'll be doing them in Armada. But if they're going to be doing resized cards, they may have to actually reprint every single card, which kind of leads me into a 1.5. Could we expect a lot of things to be errated at that point? If they're going to be reprinting cards, is this a good time to errata and change things? So I guess we're going to have to see what the future holds as we get more news on Clone Wars Armada and more actual announcements as far as details regarding, is it even a core set? Is it going to be 2 core sets? Are we going to get like a core for one faction, a core for another faction? Or are we going to get that Essentials kit? That would be amazing and really help reduce the buy-in cost of her multi-faction game. And why, for that matter, why doesn't X-Wing have an Essentials pack yet? I guess the core set's kind of their Essentials pack, but these are all things that I wonder about. But we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully Gen Con still happens. Hopefully we still get an in-flight brief from Fantasy Flight around Gen Con time. And if we do, I will be there. I will be bringing it to you live with lots of commentary after the fact. So be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank all the patrons. I want to thank everybody for your continued viewing and your continued support. There are plenty of links for merch as well as Patreon and social media down in the description below. So be sure to check all that out. I want to thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.